Good evening, Mayor and Council. It is now 7 p.m. and we are live on Zoom.
Can't hear Ben.
So did Kelly say anything about how
Lee,
she
that
wanted
was
to do it?
that was Ben, but
Yeah.
he needs to be louder.
No.
Okay. Just gonna turn it over to her. All right. Let's start to get started, right? Let's calm everybody down and we'll start up in just a second. It's warm in here tonight, so let's get started. Okay. Thank you all. So before we start, I just want to let you know, this building has a very unusual heating and cooling system. Once you turn off the summer air conditioning, all it can do is heat. So of course we turned it off last week because the court said it's cold, please turn it on. So we turned off the AC, we turned on the heat, and of course now it's hot. So bear with us, apologies, it's just, that's the nature of the system in the building, okay? Okay, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. First thing we'll do is a Pledge of Allegiance, if you'd all stand. All right, so I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. And I'll do a roll call. Councilmember Rhodes, are you here?
Yes.
Councilmember Demansky.
I am here.
Councilmember Grant.
Here.
Councilmember Wake.
Present.
Councilmember Weatherby.
Here.
And Councilmember Amar Blair.
Here.
The Mayor, Lee Kyriakou, is here. I see the City Administrator. Do we have a City Attorney online today?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor. Christian Gates with Keenan Bean.
Okay. Hey, Christian. All right. So, the first order of business is a community segment. And this will be honoring Beacon High School and the Max Born Gymnasium Foreign Exchange Student Program and their participants. Kelly, do you want to give us a hand with this, or how should we do this? Come to the mic.
Good evening, City Council, Mr. Mayor, and my friends Pete and Chris. I'm here on behalf of the German-American Partnership Program. It was an idea we had a few years ago before COVID, and now it has come to fruition. This is our third year that we've had a short-term exchange with the Max Born Gymnasium in Germering. The program was brought to my attention by two gentlemen who went to school there and founded a company together in 1988. And it's called DocuWare, by the way, which happens to have made their North American headquarters here in Beacon. And they approached me, they said, we really just want to connect the high schools, since Beacon's becoming one of our homes in the world. They have several offices, or they did. I mean, I think they're still together. I'm not really sure about the whole corporate stuff of it, but DocuWare is here, and they still have very strong ties to Germering, which is a suburb of Munich. It's a town very much like Beacon. It was two villages that came together, just like our own Fishkill Landing and Matawan. And I'm very proud tonight to welcome the 18 students from Max Born Gymnasium. And we have, I think, 16 of our Beacon students are here tonight, too. They are host siblings, and for 2 weeks they are our guests at the high school, at various activities in our area, and in these families' homes. Every family has opened their hearts and their arms to welcome a stranger into their home for 2 weeks, and it's a very moving, meaningful experience for all involved. You're not always comfortable. You learn to be a little bit uncomfortable at first, but everybody pretty much comes around, and it's just something that just moves me every single time, and I'm so proud that that we have been able to accomplish this the last 3 years. To my right here are Sebastian Hess and Angelika Zana, and then of course down there next to them is Ron Hammond. He's a teacher at Beacon High School who he and his wife were the chaperones last year to Munich, and it was very successful by all accounts. And Ron, do you want to say a couple words? Can you, as a teacher here at Beacon. This is our connection to the high school. We've been really working on that, and here we got Ron.
I have nothing prepared. I was just total extemporaneous here. But what I would like to say, first of all...
Speak into the mic.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
because we have those fans blowing, right?
Okay,
Just
yes.
Be good.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Well, thank you for having us here today. I wanted to say that in terms of having the students from Gammering, it's been an amazing experience the last couple of years. I was honored to have been a part of that experience this past summer, and hoping that we will be able to continue this. We believe that this is an amazing exchange program and something that's beneficial for the community at large, and we hope to be able to continue that into the future. We see some of the best out of our students in this program, and we see some of the best coming from Germany. So we're looking forward to this continued partnership.
I give it over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Well, so I just wanted to welcome all of you. We've done this more than 1 year, and it's always a pleasure. But I have a proclamation, and we actually have 36 copies, because I'm told we need 36 copies. Let me read the proclamation, and then if anyone else would like to speak, I'll present them. Angelica, Sebastian, if you want to say something, you'd be welcome to. Want to do that now? Yeah. Okay.
So also from our side, thank you very much for having us tonight again, Mr. Mayor, City Council. We can't really believe we're doing this for the third time. It's an honor. We appreciate everything you do for us, not only the families, but the whole community. And I don't want to sound arrogant or something, but we really believe that this exchange program suits your community very well. You're open-minded and international, and a program like ours is just a perfect match. We see it every time, and we already feel that it builds up right now. One of my junior students spent half a year at Beacon High School last year, so it's a life-changing experience for her. We see kids at Beacon High School now starting to teach German classes in their free time to support the program. So we see quite a lot going on, and yeah, we can't thank you enough for everything you do for us, families, kids, and of course the whole community. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay. You know, I know that you said it was life-changing. I think that's actually very true. In my experience, my parents were immigrants to this country, and I went to a public university, and at the university had the opportunity to spend a year abroad, and it truly was life-changing. So I'm so glad to be able to see this happen in Beacon. Let me read you the proclamation. So this is a proclamation in honor of foreign exchange students from Beacon High School and the Max Born Gymnasium. Whereas students from the Beacon High School and Max Born Gymnasium in Gammering, Germany, are participating in a joint foreign student exchange program, which will take place in October of 2024 and then in June of 2025. And whereas visiting students and faculty are visiting from Max Born Gymnasium beginning on October 19th, 2024, marking the third straight year of this incredible educational and cultural partnership. And whereas the City of Beacon families have volunteered to host these visiting students and teachers for the 2 weeks that they will be spending in Beacon, and whereas the parent-teacher-student organization of the Beacon High School has coordinated experiences for participating students, which will undoubtedly demonstrate what makes the Hudson Valley and Bavaria such special places. And whereas travel is one of the very best forms of education and is an important way to gain world perspective beyond that which we can offer in our own communities. Now, therefore, as mayor, I do issue this proclamation in honor of all the participating students in this and previous years' exchanges, while wishing each of them a wonderful and transformative experience as they make an important connection between our two cities and countries during a time where global geopolitical cooperation and partnership are more important than ever. It's under my signature, Lee Kyriakou, dated today. So thank you all. And we obviously need a photo opportunity.
Yeah, we should probably just do the photo now, right?
if we get them all up, well, can I get them?
Yeah.
All right. Now what? I'm very good at, doing what I'm told. All right. Do we stand up?
Yeah.
Do they come here? I think, come on in.
Willkommen, willkommen. Come on. Kom in here.
Keep coming.
Komen, komen. Wie
No,
deed
we're
te
gonna all
zien?
turn that way. We're gonna turn that way. That's it. Keep backing up.
Komen, komen hier. Yeah, yeah. That's fine.
All right, so we're gonna have to get them. How do we do this? You can come back a little further. I gotta go on the sides. Unless you think you can, the tall kids.
I think I can, but it might be awkward being as far back. Yeah.
I'll come stand over here. Oh my goodness. It is, it's so, it just makes me happy. But I have to. All right, we can leave now. If we'd like. Are we trying to tonight, Chris?
Forward about.
Okay.
That's fine. Great.
You're doing such a great, everything's looking good. I really, thank you.
Welcome back.
By the way, everybody, Dan was a host here. The first 2 years. 2 years you did it.
Yeah, couldn't do it this year. Doing some of the what? No, we did. Yeah, we went and visited. Yeah.
Thank you. We'll be out of here soon.
Molly, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was
I'm really glad you got that.
earning the money.
Lee, where's the sign
Got
up?
it. You don't need to sign. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
just
I'll call
when
on
we
you when
get to it.
we get through the rest. All right, let's give him a few minutes. They're pretty quiet out there. I'm going to start up, okay? All right, so now that we've done that, our next part is public comments. Anyone in the physical public audience can speak for any topic up for 2 minutes, except the public hearings that we have. We have 2 public hearings tonight. One is on local occupancy tax on hotels, motels, and short-term rentals. If you have a comment on that, please hold fire. Also, if you have a comment on a local law concerning traffic lights and fire lanes, ever exciting topic, you can speak on that when the public hearing comes. On any other topic, you've got 3 minutes if you wish, and it starts with Madeline. And I assume Alexander Devon follows her. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Madeline Devon. I am 9 years old, and I would like to tell you something. When I ride my bike into town with my mom, I have to ride in the street because sometimes there is no sidewalk, and sometimes the sidewalk is full of pedestrians. I would feel safer if we had dedicated bike lanes. I would appreciate it if you would give us dedicated bike lanes all over Beacon. I am really worried about getting hit by a car if I am riding my bike in the street. If someone is driving too fast, then I might get startled and swerve and get hurt. Also, if I am riding in the middle of the street and if a car wants to pass me and I tried to swerve to the left, then I could also get hit. And if I was on the right, then I could get doored. That is why would like dedicated bike lanes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Alexandra Devon. I would like to second my daughter's comments. I would love to have dedicated bike lanes. I recently started getting back into riding my bike. It's good exercise, it's economical, it's ecological, and ironically, given the foreign exchange students' presence here tonight, I spent my junior year of college abroad in Italy, in Florence, and one of my favorite parts of my commute to and from school was the stretch that had these beautiful dedicated bike lanes. There was a section for cars, there was a section for the bikes, and there was a section for the pedestrians. And our section for bikes had not only curbs, but like a gate on either side, so everybody was safe from everyone else, and it was the best part of my commute in Florence. So I would love to have that experience here in Beacon as well. Thank you.
Thank you both. Diane Peria?
Good evening. I only have 2 minutes. I thought it was 3.
But you got 3.
3? I
yeah,
do?
and
Okay.
Tell
great.
us who you are, where you live, and speak into the mic because we're having trouble hearing.
Okay. So I live at 61 Dennings Avenue, and I moved to Beacon about 5 years ago, and I love this community. And I want to thank each of you for all that you do to keep it that way and make it a great place to live. I moved here to be close to my granddaughter. Her name is Sierra. She's 5 years old, and she just started kindergarten at South Avenue Elementary. And this summer, she passed a couple of big milestones. She learned to swim on her own, and she learned to ride her bike. Sierra's parents are both avid bike riders, and she's spent the last several years riding shotgun on their e-bike as a passenger. And she's so excited to be able to ride her own bike now, and I know she sees herself riding her bike to school one day. And I'd be lying if I said that I do not have safety concerns when it comes to my loved ones riding their bikes here in Beacon. I see very few designated bike lanes, and those that I do see are narrow and full of potholes and often located on streets that are heavily used by cars. My wonderful son-in-law converted my bike to an e-bike, and I had visions of riding to the high school for my morning swim, but I'll tell you, I haven't done it yet because I just don't feel secure enough or safe enough to ride across town on these narrow and busy streets. On Dennings Avenue, I watch the traffic heading towards the treatment plants, the transfer station, the hiking trails at Dennings Point. I watch large trucks, fast cars, people on foot, people on bicycles navigating our street. We residents are very aware of the dangers present in this mix. The DIA is creating beautiful gardens in the back there with walking paths that will connect to our street and the hiking trails. This will attract more visitors, I'm sure, and the need to make our streets safe for all will become even more important. On Saturday, my husband and I were out running errands, and we were coming back into Beacon on North Avenue, and the traffic was bumper to bumper, almost all the way to the bridge. So many cars were waiting to make a left onto Main Street, and it was just jammed, and people were pouring into town on foot from the train station. It's a fun place to visit. We like it that way. It's a great place to live, but I think the infrastructure just isn't there to mitigate the impact of having too many cars in our city now. So how about protected bike lanes, walking paths, a downtown that's closed for traffic on weekends during the busiest seasons? Studies have shown that communities that convert to a bike-safe community see property values increase along with increased retail sales.
15 seconds.
Okay. Beacon's a forward-thinking community, evident in our silver certification in the Climate Smart program, so I urge you to prioritize creating a pedestrian and bicycle master plan. As other cities have done in the Hudson Valley,
Your
this
time is
will
elapsed.
cement our certification, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Thomas Wright.
Good evening. Thomas Wright, 24 Grove Street, member of the Beacon Bicycle Coalition. Thank you for your commitment to our community. I would like to show my strong support for a feasibility study for bike lanes on Fishkill Avenue between Blackburn and the Fishkill Town Line by addressing some misconceptions. First is the misconception that bike lanes on Fishkill Avenue would be a duplication of the future rail trail. There are two different things serving two different purposes. If ever completed, the rail trail will be great for traveling between distinct access points that are, given the nature of a rail line, generally quite far apart. Far from duplication, bike lanes are complementary to the rail trail as they provide something that the rail trail cannot, which is direct and continuous access to businesses and homes along and adjacent to Fishkill Avenue. Together, they form the beginnings of a bike network in Beacon. As I mentioned in earlier comments, the rail trail is like the New York Thruway, and bike lanes on Fishkill Avenue are like the roads and highways that link the Thruway to our homes and businesses. Next is the misconception that increased access to and from the future rail trail can be provided by creating additional access points between Fishkill Avenue and the rail trail. Given the difference in elevation of about 20 to 30 feet, this is not only very challenging in an engineering sense, but very costly, certainly far more costly than bike lanes. But even if many points of access could be created, continuous access would not be. Bike lanes, on the other hand, provide continuous access to both sides of the street. Think about it. Without bike lanes, how would Pam and Stu Weatherby get from their house to the future rail trail by bike? Or how would a cyclist on the rail trail get to a business on the north side of Fishkill Avenue? Without bike lanes on Fishkill Avenue, the answer is that they will be forced to continue to ride on a roadway that is dangerous to bicyclists. Lastly, there is the misconception that roadways at Beacon are already safe for cycling. What this incorrect and frankly insensitive position overlooks is that the lack of bike lanes in Beacon, combined with the habits and attitudes of automobile drivers, makes for a very risky environment for riding bicycles. My experience in Beacon bears this out. Drivers are at best distracted and unaware of the risks that they are posing to those on bicycles, and at worst, aggressively hostile to cyclists. I've been forced off the road by pickup trucks with front grills that are taller than me, and I've had people shout obscenities as they tell me to get off the road. Sadly, there is a common assumption held by some drivers of automobiles that bikes don't belong on the roads.
15 seconds.
Bike lanes provide more than a safe space for riding. Bike lanes are a strong visual statement of the law, which states that bikes do belong on roadways and that they are entitled to the safe use of those roadways. Please call for a Fishkill Avenue bike lane feasibility study. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brian Quinn.
Hello, Meg Lazarus, speaking on behalf of Brian Quinn, who couldn't be here tonight. To whom it may concern at City of Beacon, I am writing to express my full support for the development of bike lanes along Route 52 and generally within the City of Beacon. My support is based on the following set of experiences and beliefs. In my personal experiences, as a longtime resident of Beacon and an avid cyclist, I have found that biking between Main Street and Fishkill along Route 52 is the most dangerous stretch of road in town. There's little room for error between drivers and cyclists. A minor swerve by either driver or cyclist can result in a fatal accident. Providing clearly marked bike lanes and signage would make a big difference in safety. The significant residential population in Glenham, Fishkill, and Beacon along Route 52 corridor would experience significant quality of life improvements if cycling to Main Street, the train station, and Memorial Park were a safer option. Economically, increased cycling along Route 52 would benefit the business in that area, including my own. In my professional experience as an urban planner and landscape architect, cities tend to benefit for better networks of cycling routes. These benefits go beyond simple economic and safety impacts. They also improve general quality of life, the urban streetscape, and create more eyes on the street that result in more engaged citizenship. I have heard an argument that the county's project to bring cycling along the old rail line removes the need for on-street bike lanes. This is a fallacy of an argument for 3 reasons. First, the county's project has been in the works for over a decade and we still have not seen results. Second, the location of the rail line will bring more cyclists to Route 52 corridor, not less, making the need for on-street bike lanes an even better idea. And third, the presence of cycling infrastructure on Route 52 should be embedded now as the city re-envisions Route 52 corridor. Retrofitting cycling infrastructure post-redevelopment is harder to achieve than integrating it now. Finally, in addition to my experience as a Beacon resident and my professional background, I would like to add that the presence of a bike lane on Route 52 would have benefits to my business, One Nature LLC. In 2022, One Nature took over what had formerly been Hank Leek's plant nursery at 3 Old Glenham Road. We now operate there as a local more than organic plant nursery while actively developing a section of our 1-acre property into an educational botanic garden. Having the option for customers and employees to safely bike there would be very good for our business. While the nursery is technically located in Glenham, we also have a studio on Main Street and employ a significant number of Beacon residents. In the past 5 years, we have generated almost $3 million of payroll. Most of that payroll has gone to Beacon residents. Providing transit infrastructure to One Nature's location and other businesses along Route 52
15 seconds.
would be an excellent way to encourage economic development. Thank you very much for hearing my opinions. I regret I am unable to attend tonight due to a family event. I hope the City of Beacon will do whatever they can to rapidly establish bike lanes on Route 52 as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Liz Oliver? There we go.
Hi, my name is Liz Oliver. I'm a Beacon resident at 500 Main Street, and I'm an avid lifelong biker. I'm here tonight to ask you to join me in a vision of Beacon that centers bicycles as safe and viable transport for all. I think a good starting point, maybe you've heard of the feasibility study for Fishkill Avenue between Blackburn and the Fishkill town line. Before landing in Beacon, I lived in dozens of places around the world and rode my bike for transportation through all of them. I've experienced the world's very best bike infrastructure, a liberating, joyful, empowering way to live, and the very worst, which I miraculously survived with no head injuries and all my limbs intact. Those experiences, along with a mother hailing from the European bicycle mecca of Holland and a dad who was an urban planner from the American bicycle mecca of Minneapolis, means that bicycle infrastructure has always been on my mind. It has especially been on my mind biking around Beacon, where I see so much potential for a model small town for bicyclists. We all live here because we know Beacon is special, but the word is out and folks are flocking here. While there are plans to increase density around town, a good plan, there is currently no corresponding plan to handle the inevitable crush of cars that will flood the streets along with that growth. We've all experienced the soul-crushing traffic jams of Fishkill, Cold Spring, and beyond, bumper to bumper, exhaust choking both the air and any lingering small-town charm. That is not the Hudson Valley that I want to live in, but if we do nothing, this is the Beacon of our future. Fortunately, there is an opportunity right now for Beacon to start prioritizing people over cars. Proper bicycle infrastructure communicates to drivers that bikes have a place here, and that keeps us safe. It calms and slows the roads, gives kids rooms to bike safely to school, allows for quick trips to the store on a bike, brings in tourists on bikes instead of cars, and offers affordable alternative transportation for low-income residents. It also improves the health of our community and feels a whole lot greener, quieter, nicer than a bunch of parked, idling, honking, and racing cars. The way to make this a reality is to develop a long-term bicycle plan for bicycle infrastructure in Beacon, starting now with a feasibility study for Fishkill Avenue, an obvious choice as it's about to be redeveloped. I've spoken to businesses and residents all over town and along Fishkill Ave, and when I mention bike lanes, the answer is universally, well, yeah, of course. If you build it, the bikes will come, but we need to start now. Doesn't have to be controversial, it just takes leadership with imagination and
15
will.
seconds.
I hope you'll take this opportunity to improve our community right now and have a part in a lasting legacy for generations of future Beaconites.
Thank you so much. Julie Winterbottom.
Good evening. My name is Julie Winterbottom. I live on Duchess Terrace in Ward 1. I'm a member of Beacon Climate Action Now, and while I would like to add my voice to the call for bike lanes on Fishkill Avenue, that's not what I actually came to talk about tonight. What I'm here to talk about tonight is the city's affordable housing crisis as it relates to the budget that I know you are all working on right now. And we at Beacon Climate Action have spent a couple years talking to residents, knocking doors at events in the city, at our own events, and the number one thing that people always say they're concerned about is how unaffordable Beacon has become, and for longer-term residents, how they can't stay here, or their children can't stay here. So we would like to call on the city, as you finalize this year's budget, to include money to address this crisis. And we have 4 items that we'd like you to consider. One is funding to hire a housing justice coordinator. I know that the field of affordable housing is incredibly complex. I think it's a lot to ask each of you who are already so busy to understand this terrain, and I think hiring a person who's an expert in it to guide the city's approach to making Beacon affordable would be a wonderful step in the right direction. They could coordinate with the building department on tenant complaints, they could provide support on many housing issues, manage city databases of landlords and Airbnbs, many other things. We'd also like to see some funding that would educate residents on the good cause eviction measure that I congratulate you for passing. But what good is this measure if people, tenants and landlords, don't know about it, don't understand it, don't know how to use it? Related to that, we'd like to find a way that we can provide some funding for people who are going to land in court due to evictions but don't qualify for Hudson Valley legal services money, and that would be another great thing to fund. And the last one is enforcing Beacon's rental registry, which is Beacon's supposed to keep track of rentals, ensure safety, but I don't think that list is being kept up to date. The last thing I want to add is that I know later tonight you're going to have a public hearing on the hotel tax, and I want to say that the money from that tax would be the perfect source for these housing justice issues. I understand in the first year there could be $60,000 coming in.
Your time has elapsed.
It could be used for a fund to help people who are in rental emergencies. The city of Hudson has done that. They've kept 150 people housed as of last year. And so I encourage you to do one or all of these things. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Johanna Funnel? Thank you.
Hi. Hello. Joanna Funnel, 74 Howland Avenue, Ward 4. Lived in Beacon since 2015, and I'm an avid cyclist. I cycle a lot. I cycle for sport and fitness. I cycle a lot just in social rides and to be with my friends. But more importantly, I cycle for transportation. I don't have a car, and actually I don't even have a US driving license.
Can you speak more into the mic? That's great.
Don't even have a US driving license. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but partly it has to do with I just don't like driving. It is my personal choice to cycle. I think it's an entirely rational decision, and I don't actually think that I'm very much of an outlier in that perspective. I think this is something that more people are wanting to do and more people are wanting to make a choice with. And I'm slightly anxious that Beacon is a little bit behind in its master plan for micromobility. I'm quite surprised that we don't have a more developed plan, particularly in regards to places like Kingston, which I think we can do a lot better than. And I'm also a little bit anxious that multi-use paths are being suggested as a substitute for bike lanes and more safe cycling routes. Bike lanes are not the same as multi-use paths. I've cycled on both of them. Bike lane is a traffic lane for vulnerable road users. It has a sense of forward direction, and it gets you efficiently from one place to the other. Multiple use path, I don't know if you've ever been on one of them on the weekend, but it is full of zigzagging families, small children, seniors, going at approximately 1 to 3 miles an hour. That is often a recipe for disaster, and it doesn't help me get to my hair appointments, my dentists, my doctors. I think there's a reason that New York City is segregating pedestrians from cyclists. You can see that on Brooklyn Bridge. You can see that on the Hudson River Greenway. You can see that on the High Line, where bicyclists are prohibited. And so I don't think it's a solution for Beacon to rely on rail trails like the Hopewell Junction Rail Trail. Even the Fjord Trail isn't really going to help me. It would actually add probably about 50% to my time and my mileage to get to my friend's house in Cold Spring. This is often what happens, that journeys are really disconnected. And so I think, and what I hope for Beacon is that not only do we look at bike lanes, but we look at total journeys from a cyclist and a micromobility perspective. I think this is something that Kingston doesn't actually do very well. It has a great plan for bike lanes, but are they connected up in a way that gets you end to end? I would argue no, because I've spoken to people who live there and cycle in Kingston, and they don't do that. I would hope that Beacon could do much
15
better
seconds.
by canvassing and centering cyclists and any other users of micromobility so that we can get from place to place within Beacon and to our neighboring communities safely and efficiently. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kira Stoddard?
Hi. Okay, I gotta take off my glasses because I'm going blind. Okay, I will keep it short, hopefully. Hi, everyone. I live on Spring Valley Street in Beacon, and I've been here for about 6 years now. I want to share first that I'm not an avid biker like everyone behind me, but I do ride my bike for practicality, for transportation. It's cheap and often quicker than driving in a car and trying to find parking. It's just much easier. Like others have stated, I'm very excited about the prospect of bike lanes in Beacon in general and on Fishkill Avenue in particular with the rezoning project. The rezoning and the likely increase of housing density on that other end of Route 52, which is really, really needed obviously in Beacon, make bike lanes to connect those two, which would be disparate neighborhoods, really a no-brainer. So like it really makes sense that while you're envisioning that new corridor that you would integrate bike lanes, because I think the last thing we want is having thousands of new housing units and having everyone drive their individual car and try to find parking on Main Street. It really would be much more efficient for the people who have the ability to bike to ride their bike. Coincidentally, I was at an event at the Beacon Lofts last night with a few dozen people, and I mentioned bike lanes, and everyone, their eyes lit up. They were like, we're so sick of driving a mile and a half down Route 52. We want to be able to get to Main Street and go shopping and run our errands, and they were really excited about the opportunity to build bike lanes. That was just a few dozen people. I would imagine if you went and talked to everyone at the Lofts, they would probably agree. Kingston, someone mentioned Kingston, and every time I go there, I'm really, really jealous because they are building out more and more bike lanes to try to build up a biking culture and having people less reliant on cars. And I think that we could do it a lot better. We're much denser than Kingston. We're already congested with car traffic. Why do we want to build more housing and require people to purchase and own individual cars? We should really be encouraging more walking and biking. 2 more points, hopefully I have time. I'm a mother of high school children, and I would never allow my child to bike to school in the morning. It's insane getting there. There are no bike lanes. You have the traffic going to the prison. And you know, if you have a child in high school or middle school, I mean, that road there is backed up, congested, polluted. We really should be encouraging people who want to bike to bike.
15 seconds.
Final note, I saw a stat last week. Just having bike lanes reduces speeding by 11%. If you have delineators on the bike lane, it reduces speeding by 28%. This is a new study that came out. So just having a bike lane
Your
will
time is
reduce
elapsed.
traffic. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Sergey Krasikov.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, City Administrator. Sergey Krasikov, Ward 3. While I recognize some of the concerns that Mr. Mayor has brought up regarding the bike lane on Fishkill Avenue, I do support adding the bike lanes there, not at least because this can be done relatively fast, unlike the Pie in the Sky Rail Trail that we most likely will need to wait for another 5-8 years, perhaps even longer. But I want to step back a bit and revisit how the city ended up in a situation where we have to battle street by street, asking for sidewalks, safer crossings, bike lane signage. For over a decade, time and time again, individual residents, community groups, conservation advisory committees that I chair, we have been bringing up the topic of comprehensive non-vehicular transportation plan for the city, finding grant opportunities to pay for a study or master plan, bringing possible partnership opportunities, and time again, we were told, not now, not important, not a problem, too busy this year, and this year, and this year. So a quick look back. 2023 Community Faculty and Program Report or Recreation Study. One of the facilities to receive the highest importance rating for the city to address over the next decades, trails and pathways. 2023 Beacon Main Street Access Committee appointed by the mayor recommended to develop bike system. 2021 City of Beacon Open Space Inventory Public Survey Results Report. Around 80% of respondents, close to 300 people, took part, requested walking and biking paths. 2020 Climate Action Memo to the City Council, create pedestrian and bike master plan. 2017 Community Participants in Comprehensive Plan Update asked for easy walking or biking to local natural areas. Again, 2017 Comprehensive Plan, Chapter 6.2, Transportation, Goal and Recommendations. Develop a list of priority locations for sidewalks with a plan for implementation. Develop a bikeway system connecting greenways, community facilities, recreation areas, schools, and Main Street. Among streets specifically named in the comprehensive plan for the consideration of developing bike lanes and adding shadow markings is, you guessed, Fishkill Avenue. 2007 public opinion survey that is quoted in 2017 comprehensive plan. Bike paths requested by respondents. Have we waited long enough? Mr. Mayor has publicly agreed during a bike coalition ride that having a comprehensive bike pedestrian plan is a good idea, and that it needs to be developed in time for inclusion into 2027 comprehensive plan update. So I'm requesting the City Council to preserve a 30,000 planning study line item in the budget and use this money to finally do what the community has been asking for so long, a comprehensive and implementable pedestrian bike study or master plan to help make our city safer, healthier, and greener. And as an employee of One Nature, I can attest that biking to work is really scary. Thank you.
Thank you. Oliver?
Hi, my name is Oliver Meyer. I'm a student at Beacon High School, and I ride my bike to school every day and home every day. And I must say that while I don't find it scary, my mom, who understands more of the realistics of biking and being careful, she is scared for me to go to school and go home on a bike because it's it's scary. There's no, I go on Matawan Road and Verplank, and Matawan is very clogged, like especially when you're walking, if you're walking to school and walking home, the only two paths, they get very blocked up, and I don't want to have to try to weave through that. And if you're biking on the road, then that's a very different kind of scary, but it's still pretty nerve-wracking because a lot of people come like through that way, and that's kind of like a choke point where you can come from a lot of different ways. And if you're going into town, that's a way that you can get into town easily. So a lot of people, not just from the high school or middle school, come that way, and they usually go fast. And it's pretty terrifying when I'm trying to just bike home and I see people going probably a little faster than they should, but yeah, I just want to get home, and I enjoy biking, and I enjoy biking to school, so I think that's something that I like doing a lot. But yeah, I think that the three roads that need it are Matawan, Verplank, and then Main Street, if that's possible, because especially on weekends when a lot of people come up from the city, it's very hard. You know, like if I'm trying to go to the store, go to a restaurant, I don't want to have to weave through people or go on the street because, like I said, on Matawan, it's that, but more. Like there's more people, especially when it's a nice day. There's a lot of tourists, and then there's also a lot of people driving, again, some faster than they should, and it's pretty scary. Like I feel like I'm 14. I don't know how to drive yet. Like I don't know the ideas of like etiquette and stuff like that. And even if I'm on a bike, I'm still not driving. But like if I'm in the road, I feel like I should know that, and I don't. So it's pretty scary to ride on the streets and and be.
You have 15 seconds remaining.
And be nervous about getting hurt or hurting someone else. And I don't want to put my mom through that. I don't want to put myself through that because it's not a good feeling. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dan Vatsky?
Good evening, council members, and good evening, Mayor. My name is Dan Vatsky. I'm a homeowner in Beacon's Ward 1. In 2020, when I first moved to Beacon, my daughter was just 18 months old. As a longtime cyclist, I'd heard of the plans for the rail trail to Hopewell Junction and the Fjord Trail. I also learned of Beacon's Main Street access plan and the bike boulevards that were part of its recommendations. I pulled up maps and traced the routes, seeing connections and imagining a network that would allow my family to cycle not only throughout Beacon, but to Fishkill, Cold Spring, and beyond. My family purchased a cargo bike in school bus yellow. With those developments in mind, we considered the bike not as a recreational toy, but as a functional vehicle we could favor over our car for most local travel. Today in 2024, the odometer on our cargo bike is about to cross 3,000 miles. My daughter is now 5, and this summer she proudly learned to ride her own bike. We are hardly living car-free, but within Beacon, our bike remains our favorite option for getting around. And we are not alone. In the last year, I've passively persuaded 3 other families to obtain similar bikes and choose their bikes first for their nearby trips. But as far as the streets of Beacon are concerned, it still feels like we're frozen in the past. While I know our city supports the proposed trails, those plans will still take years to complete. They are also largely intended for recreation and not the day-to-day errands that constitute much of my weekly riding. On our city streets, I see virtually no improvements to our bicycle infrastructure. Major traffic lights at intersections at Walcott and South Avenue, Walcott and Tioronda Avenue, and Verplank Avenue at Cedar Street do not have sensors that recognize or respond to cyclists. Bicycle parking in commercial areas has not increased, and no boulevards or lanes have been added to the grid. I believe Beacon's leadership wants to guide the city towards greater sustainability and climate-conscious policies. Bicycle infrastructure deserves more attention, investment, and action to achieve these goals. The interest in cycling is here today, but the city needs to promote it as a real transportation option. Doing so at scale will make our city greener, quieter, healthier, and more affordable. The Fishkill Avenue redesign is an opportunity to actively include cycling in the vision of Beacon's future. Providing a bike lane will be useful. It will create a better and safer street. It will improve access to businesses operating north of Blackburn Avenue. It will not complete the project of making Beacon a more bike-friendly city, but it would be a major step. It is also an opportunity to learn what makes bike lanes work well and then implement those lessons across the greater master plan. In another 4 years' time, my daughter will be a competent cyclist capable of taking short trips on her own. In my childhood, that feeling of independence was precious. I ask Beacon to act now and begin building a street environment that values her
15
safety
seconds.
and supports her right to use our public roads. A bike lane on Fishkill Avenue would be a start to making this a reality. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. That's everyone on the list. If there's anyone in the physical audience that hasn't spoken that would like to, now's your time. Yeah, I got you.
Good evening, Teresa Kraft. I'd like to think it's warm in here tonight because of all the love in the room with Beacon High School and Max Born students and their mentors. Kudos to this successful program. Before it's too late, Beacon must revisit the new transition zone and draw up changes ASAP. We need to protect what's left of our historic buildings, historic streetscapes, and view sheds, especially now that a few buildings on Main Street are listed for sale with plans to increase floor levels in known historic districts. I watched last week's workshop live and was surprised by the conditions imposed. Speaking as a concerned resident, I believe that many others share my opinion and concerns. I do not think an agreement should be reached with the 248 Tioronda project. Several council members also expressed apprehension. The property owners and developer should be required to adhere to the rules established during the building permit approval process with the city and the planning board. The current economic situation does not warrant dismissing the need for professional office spaces. I believe the developer is deceiving the city and operating by its own rules. Tuck tape had been abandoned for many years. I suggest leaving it vacant until all requirements are met and ensuring that the process is followed as approved. It was disheartening to witness a meeting where one person at the table, citing co-ownership of the zoning laws and codes, could override and stifle the conversation. This is very concerning for city residents who rely on their council members to represent their voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up, tell us your name and where you are, and then make sure you speak into the mic.
All right. Hi, my name is Kate Stryker, 28 Mackin Avenue. I've been a resident in Beacon since 2015. And first I want to thank the council and the mayor. And add that I am a mother, I'm a cyclist, I'm also an urban planner with Hudson Valley Pattern for Progress. You may have heard of us, some of you. So I'm here today to speak in favor of a feasibility study for bike lanes on Route 52. And there's just a few points I want to add to those which have already been made. Regarding Thomas Wright's points, I want to second what he said as far as the rail trail and the sort of argument that it would be a redundancy to have bike lanes on 52, and just sort of add and emphasize the point that we don't have a guaranteed timeline on the rail trail, and it could be, without a sort of guaranteed timeline, I don't think the redundancy argument holds, because hopefully the redevelopment process goes smoothly and we have new development along that corridor, and to do that without the bike lanes, I think would be very misguided and a missed opportunity. My second point is that in general, bike infrastructure is an issue of equity. You may be aware that here in the Hudson Valley, approximately 10% of households do not own a vehicle, and they rely on other modes of transportation, including bikes, to get to important destinations, such as work or school, as we've already heard about from some of the speakers today. And by depriving these people of safe routes, we are failing to provide equitable transportation options for them. My third point, and this was sort of made already, but is that Route 52 is being rezoned, presumably for new housing and commercial opportunities. There will, as a result, be more traffic. Anyone who drove around Beacon this weekend knows that traffic is already an issue. Bike lanes are an important way to reduce the traffic impact, and at the same time helped businesses, a point that was already made. Studies show that pedestrian and cyclists increase business success. Somebody sort of made this line earlier, but I'm going to just emphasize it. If you build it, they will ride. If you don't, they will drive. And that is true, and it will be true along Route 52. My next point is regarding just the cost of putting bike lanes on Route 52. Obviously, there will be a cost. I don't think we know exactly what that will be yet. And that could be an argument against doing it. However, I think it can also be argued that this investment, if not made at this opportune time, ahead of rezoning effort and new development, there will be other costs
15
associated
seconds.
with not having it, such as clogged streets, air quality issues, parking issues, emergency service costs, and as was the point made earlier, retrofitting later will have a higher cost. To sum up, more bike lanes equals a healthier community. Quick funding ideas.
Your time is elapsed.
Developer fees put in place now to current development applications for a community fund to fund community assets, and just the city should consider tax increment financing to use future property tax revenue along 52 to fund community projects such as the bike lanes.
Thank you so much. Anyone else in the physical audience want to make a comment? Hasn't made one yet? Okay. Ben, anyone online?
If you're on Zoom and you'd like to make a public comment tonight, please use the raise hand option at the bottom of your screen. If you're using your phone to join us tonight, you'll need to press *9. And if you're on YouTube, you'll need to join us on Zoom by visiting beaconny.gov. Right now we have one hand raised, and that is Brian. Brian, you have permission to speak whenever you're ready.
Thanks so much, and thanks for hearing my comment tonight. My name is Brian Mandel. I am a resident of Ward 3 on Wilk Street. I'm also a member of Beacon Climate Action Now. I'm calling in tonight to talk about the upcoming city budget that you guys are working on. First, I just want to commend the city for managing our finances in such an effective way. I know that the financial situation, both locally and nationally, has not been easy, and there are many municipalities that are struggling in a way that Beacon is not. And I'm here to encourage you guys to take that financial success and invest in a real way in what is, at least what I've come to understand, is the #1 concern of this community, which is housing and the way that development is taking place in the city. Specifically, I am asking you to spend the resources that you have to invest in a municipal position that's focused on housing development and housing justice, similar to other Hudson Valley municipalities. This person could do a whole host of things, but could assist the city with data collection about development and housing needs in the city. It could work with developers to take advantage of existing programs from the state and federal government to develop affordable housing. This person could work on enforcement of existing laws like landlord and short-term rental registries, and also could assist tenants with issues when they arise. As I said, this is not a new or novel concept. There are several municipalities within the Hudson Valley who have done this, and I hope you seriously consider it. I'm also want to just take the prerogative to double dip a little bit on my comments and echo what everyone else here has said about biking infrastructure in the city of Beacon. My partner and I share a car, and I am very frequently without a car, an automobile to get around, and rely on my bicycle. Just in the past month alone, I can think of 3 instances in which an aggressive driver has tried to run me off the road and screamed at me when I was performing totally legal actions, and these people seem to not even understand that bikes have a right to exist. And I hope for a future in which everybody here who has spoken and many more can bike safely in Beacon. Thank you, and have a nice night.
Thank you very much. Ben, I think that's everyone.
No further hands raised on Zoom.
Okay. So we've got 2 public hearings this evening. So let's start those up. So the first one is a public hearing regarding a local law, and it is about a hotel, motel, and short-term rental tax. Christian, can you introduce it? Well, actually, just hang on a minute. We have some movement in the audience, so let's give them a minute to move. And let me take a minute. I'm going to be right back. Just grabbing something.
Yeah, it was turned towards us, but when the kids came up, because they...
I noticed, yeah, I've been trying to get it, I thought it mentioned that.
Oh, no, it was down.
I was trying to cook here. Just do the analysis that's been done in the past.
That's all right. I mean, it's possible at their top right now. Like you have these little narrow streets. What they don't tell you about Kingston is 4 bicyclists have been killed since they put in their bike lanes. Because they drew lines all over the street. They invited people who really didn't know what they were doing to go bicycle in these safe lanes. And they never taught the people who drive how to use those lanes. So there are ghost bikes all over the city, which is a white painted bike where a bicyclist has been killed. The reason I know this is I designed the linear park in the city. No one has been killed on the linear park, but people have been killed in the bike lanes.
And then they're just going to go ahead and
including like one of the bike advocates for parking lot, Rose Queen's Park, because nobody knew how to deal with these stupid lines.
Like it's an airport.
Thank you. So Christian, can you introduce basically what we're trying to do with the local occupancy tax, and then I'll open up the public hearing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. So this evening is a public hearing on a proposed local law which would assess a local occupancy tax on hotels, motels, and short-term rentals. Also included in this tax would be bed and breakfasts. This local tax is authorized under New York State statute tax law section 1202 MM. This is a common type of room occupancy tax. At least 100 jurisdictions in New York have the same or similar legislation. The draft provides for a 2% tax. This is on the per diem, so each night of the stay. It has an effective date of January 1, 2025. It also provides for the quarterly filing of tax return as well as the collection of taxes. Those dates would be within 20 business days of March 30th, June 30th, September 30th, and December 31st. Any operators or establishments that would fall under the purview of this local law would be required to register with the City of Beacon. They would be issued a certificate of authority, and then they would also need to file a tax return form. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them as well.
Okay, so let's open the public hearing. If anyone would like to make a comment on this proposed hotel tax, this is your time to do it. Come on up.
Somebody's got to say something. It's pretty pitiful. We live in
Tell
a
us
city.
who you are and where
My
you
name
live.
is Teresa Kraft. Yeah, I think venting your stuff on Facebook and social media doesn't work. Come on down here where the party really is. I believe that in order to collect the required tax, all illegal short-term rentals that list on Airbnb must be identified and made to comply with the rules and regulations. Why have this collection of these taxes if you're not going to get it? I believe there is hundreds of these rentals, not just the 60 plus that are currently listed and being filed properly with the city. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else in the physical audience want to make a comment on this particular public hearing? It's the hotel tax. Come on up, tell us who you are. Wait till you get to the mic.
Hello, my name is Wilfredo Soto. I'm from Ward 1.
Speak closer into the mic.
I'm from Ward 1.
Yep.
I do have a couple questions on this. What would be the expected tax revenue gained from initiating this tax, if known?
Well, you can ask questions, but it's not a back and forth. So
Oh.
if you ask them, we can probably answer them after we're done.
60,000.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
And is there, do we have any expectations of what we would be utilizing this tax revenue for?
Again,
is
you
all.
can keep
That
asking.
is all.
Okay. Thank you so much. And then anyone else in the physical audience? All right. So Ben, on the hotel tax, if you want to make a comment,
No hands raised on Zoom.
be on the hotel tax. It's all right. Okay. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing on the hotel tax?
Motion.
Second.
Dan and Molly, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. So the other public hearing this evening is a much more scintillating topic. It's on traffic lights and fire lanes. So before I open it, Christian, can you at least tell us what about traffic lights and fire lanes we would be amending?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So this local law does two things. It would actually remove 3 traffic control signals that are either not under the city's jurisdiction, they're DOT traffic lights, or there are traffic light doesn't exist there and it's actually a stop sign. The second part of the local law, it would allow the building inspector or fire chief, or as well as the planning board in their site plan approval process, to designate fire lanes. This city code does not have a fire lane provision. This law somewhat mirrors the state VTL provision on it, as well as other municipalities that have their own have their own legislation. There is no need for enabling legislation for this type of law, nor would this law supersede any VTL provisions. So this law would create 2 different types of fire lanes. One is more of the immediate vicinity of fire hydrants and areas that emergency vehicles would use. And then the second type is for more along the lines of emergency access routes, so the way that emergency vehicles would get to those fire hydrants and as well as fire lanes. It provides for a certain type of markings for either type of fire lanes, as well as grants the building inspector in consultation with the fire chief the ability to substitute those types of markings for alternative markings in the event that there are special circumstances. And that's about it. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are.
Okay, so thank you, Christian. I will open up the public hearing in a second. Just one note, someone asked in the last one, and Dan gave a pretty good answer, which was we're hoping to raise about $60,000 next year from the hotel tax. And then it goes in the general revenue and is used for offsetting all of the general fund expenses. So with that, let me open the public hearing on this item for fire lanes and traffic lights. If anyone would like to make a comment, you're certainly welcome to. Seeing none in the physical audience, anyone out there? Ben?
None on Zoom.
All right, so on this ever exciting topic, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
So Molly and Amber, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Let's do council and administrator and mayor comments. You want to start, Dan, and come around? Is that okay? Sure. Thank you.
So firstly, I would like to thank Joyce and the Beacon Sloop Club and all the volunteers and businesses who brought the Pumpkin Festival together yesterday. It was a really great time. Great time of year, beautiful weather. I got myself a huge pumpkin, and I think it's a great tradition that we have these festivals. I hope they go on for a long, long time. Secondly, I'm hoping we could hear directly from the Fishkill Avenue Committee soon. I'm interested in what decisions what topics they're discussing. Maybe we can get an update on some of the votes that they've taken and decisions that they've made. Maybe some of the ideas that they have declined, and some of the ideas they have not taken up yet. I think it would just be great to hear from the Fishkill Avenue Committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I wanted to thank Bannerman's Island we enjoyed a nice 30th anniversary boat ride and tour, which, living here 38 years, I had never been to Bannerman's at all, so to hear that it was 30th anniversary was amazing, and it was just a real treat to see what was on there. Really loved the experience and hope to be back soon. Also, I participated in the JV Forrestal Bike to School last Thursday, and great to see all the kids on their bikes and scooters riding down the road easily with the police officer behind them so they can safely make it to school. Also, just want to remind people this Saturday, October 26th, start early voting for this year's elections. And Closest early voting site is at Town of Fishkill Town Hall on Route 52. And then also day of Election Day on Tuesday, November 5th. This year is going to be a little different, that Beacon residents, if you haven't voted already, can vote in any of the 3 voting sites, Rombout Middle School, Memorial Building, or South Avenue Elementary. You do not have to go to a particular one. You could go to any one, and they will have your ballot ready. And just on bike lanes, I myself live only 1 block from 52 and would love to ride a bike, but am fearful to get out onto Route 52, so I definitely hear that something needs to be looked at for safety. You know, my husband Stu has been biking lately on 52, and there's so many obstacles now for a biker that it is shocking that nobody is killed. And it's not just from vehicles, it's from even just how the side of the road is for them, that it's really, there's so many dangerous obstacles. So I would love a feasibility study. I know we keep talking that we can't do it, we'd like to do it. Is it reality, and what could we get for it there before we start putting in new sidewalks? That's all I have.
Mayor, can I just ask that the council please not say things about infrastructure in the city that could come back and haunt us for a lawsuit. If Nick was on, I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but you just put on the record that it's unsafe to bike, which is, I would challenge that assertion, and I think we should be careful about what we say publicly.
I'll send you pictures of the dangerous.
I get that, Pam, but we're in like 3 lawsuits already about trip and fall things, so I would just ask the council, if you have issues about our infrastructure, please talk to us and we can mitigate that. If you announce it in your report, you're basically putting it on the record so that it can be used against us if somebody falls there. Okay? And again, Nick isn't on to usually say that, but I would have texted Nick to say something.
Okay.
And I think you can make your point without saying our facilities are not safe. A council member saying that, I've never been notified by anybody about something unsafe on Fishkill that we haven't immediately addressed. So just knowing what we're going through with the lawsuit at Teller Avenue, I would be very careful about what people say about our infrastructure.
We definitely need the Fishkill Avenue Concepts Committee to be here.
You can make that decision. You can make that decision. I'm just saying I would rather the council not hand lawsuits to people.
Yep.
Because we're in 3 right now, and our insurance is going up because of them.
Okay, so let's go on. Having heard that concern about being cautious about how we say things. Paloma?
I will add my thanks to the Sloop Club for the Pumpkin Festival. I think these seasonal events at the riverfront are a really wonderful community event, and I'm glad that we're able to have those. Coming up is the annual Hocus Pocus Day Parade, which is this weekend. Friday, there's trick-or-treating at local businesses from, I believe, 3 to 5, with the parade itself happening on Saturday at 2 p.m. It's real cute, and I think it's just a fun activity for kids and adults alike. I have been joining meetings remotely for the past few weeks to handle some family matters. This means that I haven't been in person for the budget discussions so far, and I wanted to raise a question that I want to make sure I understood correctly in terms of some of the budget line items that have been broadly under the council section of the budget, namely participatory budgeting, our community grant program, and funds for studies. If I understood correctly, our participatory budgeting line item is intact, but we are not continuing the community grants program or committing to any new studies. And, you know, we can bring this conversation back at a workshop if that's more appropriate. But since I haven't been in person, I wanted to make sure I made that statement publicly, and I certainly know there wasn't any discussion from the council on if we agree with those decisions. And especially as we are hearing from the public about programs and initiatives that they're interested in us looking into, whether that is a bike feasibility study on Fishkill Avenue in particular, or committing to a more comprehensive bike plan in alignment with our comprehensive plan. Having funding for those earmarked would be a necessary step. So I want to make sure that we have time to discuss both of those items before moving forward with the budget.
Okay. Pam?
All right. I do just want to acknowledge what the council was handed. So thank you to the Beacon Bike Coalition. I will take a look at that. I was given it just before the meeting, but appreciate the comments here. I'm pretty much just going to repeat what I said on the 7th. I'm supportive of the need for bike infrastructure. When we looked at parking restrictions, I asked that we discuss what we can do to encourage alternate transportation. We really haven't taken that up yet. And additionally, I would like us to start picking up more work from the strategic planning we did earlier in the year as it relates to housing and zoning.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amber. I'm going to be a little thematic. There's some links here, but it was really lovely to see the proclamation supporting this, this exchange program. Going to continue my commitment that I made when I came back from the Peace Corps, and I'm there to continue to promote that program. I hope those students and everyone else will remember there is a fantastic program that I think is the best use of our tax dollars in the U.S. It is the United States Peace Corps. It's still a program that's available. I did it right after college. I hope students will consider that as an option. It is a phenomenal way for us to have a presence and learn about other cultures. And it is something that is, I was half the cohort. The average age was about 45 in my group. And so I am definitely considering that for retirees mindset, that there's a lot of folks that do it at a later point in their lives. Phenomenal program. When I went to the Peace Corps in the South Pacific, I was a nutter and I packed up my bike. So I took my bike with me. So thematic continuation, I'm a bit of a nutter for bikes. I do want to have this conversation about what we can do to promote bike culture in Beacon. I've got a long history of working on bike programs, including at Princeton University, where we started a bike share program. It's a cultural shift. It's not just infrastructure. To have presence within the city, to have a feeling of comfort and safety, there's a number of programmatic things that we could support and really should discuss. So a fantastic agenda item to add to that. I'll second Dan's call for Second Avenue Committee discussions. I really am curious about what's happening there. The idea of voting, thank you, Pam, for bringing that up. Please don't sit this one out. Please vote. And in the spirit of participation, I'm very happy to report there's continued use of the survey that's on the Beacon City Council webpage. We're up to half a dozen responses, and they are thoughtful and wonderful, and they are not sitting idle. I will be sharing and discussing with my fellow council members and the mayor some good ideas and concerns that are being shared through that survey. So I do encourage people to continue to use that survey on there and share your thoughtful responses. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll also echo both Pam's great delight at the Bannerman 30th anniversary ride that she and I got to attend together. It was great to see the site and great to see all the great volunteers who are part of that, both staff and volunteers, in making it possible over the past 30 years. I will echo the request just to understand where the Fishkill Avenue Committee is, if it's possible for us to get an update. And I will also share for the public that, as far as I'm aware, that they continue to have their meetings the first Wednesday of every month, and those are available for you to attend. There's no public comment session, similar to what you saw tonight at the beginning of our meeting, but you can listen in both in person here in the same room we're at tonight and also online as well, should you wish to get your own update about what's going on and you're kind of interested in that as well. And then to build on what Pam was saying, if you're interested in voting early, the hours that they are every day between Saturday, this coming Saturday 26th and November 3rd is 12 to 4. That is every single day. There are also hours that are earlier and later, but you can go to the Board of Elections for Dutchess County website to find out more if you kind of can't make those particular hours. And then voting the day of is from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And also, Pam mentioned where there is voting. If you are used to voting at JVF, that is not a location this year, but you can go to any of the other three. That's Rombout, Memorial Building, or South Avenue Elementary, if you want to do that instead. And then lastly, just to mention that I'm going to be out of town starting on Wednesday this week through November 2nd. So if you do email, I might not get back to you right away. And Ben, I will send you an email to let you know that as well. And I will pass it to the mayor.
Hey, thank you all for the comments. I'll try to avoid the duplicate ones. So I had the opportunity this weekend to attend a DAR event at the Madam Brett Homestead. It was unveiling the 250-year Patriot marker that's now out in front of the building. I also had the opportunity to attend a cube art opening by an artist named Ozeri, who was doing political paintings from photographs, which is very interesting. I also, of course, enjoyed pumpkins. The only other things I would add, I pulled up, I saw an article on the Poughkeepsie City budget, so I just did a few numbers. So our city's homestead rate this year, not the proposed one for next year, for the city of Beacon is $5.87 per $1,000, $5.87. The city of Poughkeepsie's equivalent homestead rate was $10 and change. Not quite double, but pretty close. In fact, it's $10.10. The city of Newburgh's rate for this year is $10.79. So just to give you a sense of it, we're roughly half that of the city of Newburgh and the city of Poughkeepsie. And then for historical perspective, when I got on council, we were right in there with them. And so the work that we've done here, the construction that's happened here, and all of the changes that we have done have helped to bring our rates almost to half of what our neighboring cities were and where we were as well 30 years ago. And just so you know where the city of Poughkeepsie is going, they're proposing to increase their rate from $10.10 to $10.83. That is a 7% increase in the rate, not the tax, but the rate of the tax. And of course, property values are increasing there, so their actual total increase will be higher than that. The city of Beacon is proposing to reduce our rate by 3%. Right? That doesn't mean that our tax bill will come down. It will still go up a little, but it's not going up 10% like it is in our sister city. I also would note, and you can get this online at the county's website, the amazing statistic is the Arlington Fire District. I'm not talking the town of Poughkeepsie, I'm just talking the Arlington Fire District, which is just fire in the town of Poughkeepsie. Their tax rate is $7.88. That compares to our $7.87. So our city's entire tax rate, including all fire, all police, all our other services, are actually a penny lower than the Arlington Fire District. It's just telling you something about gold plating in that particular fire district. Of course, when you add that to the town of Poughkeepsie's rate, their rate is also in the $10 range. So just to give you a sense of where and how far the city of Beacon has come, how important the management of our finances, the finding of alternative sources like the sales tax, the higher hauler fees, and hopefully soon a hotel tax, and the management that we do with that and our new construction means to us. So I just wanted to add that. I'm thrilled that our bike colleagues came here tonight. I'm disappointed that they've picked one of the dead last priorities for what we would do if we had a bike system in Beacon. The absolute #1 priority of any infrastructure involving bikes are the backbones. The backbones in our city will be the rail trail, which did not begin 10 years ago. It wasn't in our master plan. It only raised as an issue a couple of years ago. But it goes right along our main street, right along our creek, and then of course the Fjord Trail will be the other backbone. What you do with backbones is you build feeders into the backbones. You don't build parallel bike paths directly adjacent to it. You build feeders into it. And I look forward to the discussion on that. I will try to get an update from our Route 52 committee. I too am interested, but you know, they're taking their time. But I'll see what I can do about getting an update. That's all I got, City Administrator.
I'm happy to report that our paving is largely done. We did 21 streets, including Cherry, which I visited today, and it looks great. I want to thank Mickey Manzi, Ed Balicki, and their respective staffs in Highway and Water for a terrific job. We are going to come back and try to do a small round of additional paving in November, particularly on West Center Street where we're doing the sidewalks. So we're hoping to have the new sidewalks are in. We're removing the dilapidated sidewalks on the other side of the street. Then we hope to come back and sew that up with new paving. I'm also happy to report that the firehouse is substantially completed. We are doing landscaping and a few punch list items, but the fire department is already starting to move in. And again, please save the date for the opening, which is November 16th at 11 a.m. It's Saturday. And we are going to open up the facility for tours, and we hope everyone can come and join us. And then we have the bid coming back for our dewatering system for the wastewater treatment plant. This is one of those projects that's not seen, but it's very, very important. So we'll be coming to you at workshop and possibly the next meeting for a vote on awarding that project. And that's about a $5 million rebuild of our dewatering system, moving from a belt press to centrifuge systems. So we've been busy, and thank you for all of the patience with the roads being closed. There is an end in sight.
Okay. Christian, I don't think you would add anything else from the attorney's position, right? So I'm going to go to resolutions unless you think otherwise.
No, I do want to just quickly second what City Administrator Chris White said. Generally, whenever there's a condition that any members are aware of or concerned, please come to us and mention it to us, and we will help address it. Thank you.
Okay. You know, I appreciate repeating the admonition. Thank you. Okay, let's do our resolutions. The first one is a resolution appointing Kevin Glinsky or reappointing Kevin Glinsky to the position of firefighter. Can I get a motion and a second?
Motion. Second.
So there are a whole bunch of those. Who wants it?
Sure.
Paloma and Dan?
Great.
Okay. And then Chris, you'll tell us something about why we're reappointing Mr. Glinsky.
Yes. So Kevin Glinsky was a firefighter in our department and left about 2 years ago to go work at Arlington. Which has much higher pay levels than we have. And since that time, we undertook building a new firehouse. We've gotten a new fire chief, and Mr. Glinsky moved back to Beacon. And he is interested in coming back. We know that we have a retirement coming up either at the end of this year or the beginning of next year. And he comes fully trained, fully equipped, and we are happy to welcome him back. So this is the first time we've ever pulled a firefighter from Arlington here. It's usually the flow of is the other way.
I wouldn't get used to that if I were you.
No, I won't get used to it, but
no.
This is good news for our department, and it sets us up when we have the retirement. It's going to be seamless. We don't have to send someone to the academy for multiple weeks and then wait for them to come on shift.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I looked up Arlington was this, and I mean, if you can imagine trying to compete with a department that equals our entire tax base just for fire. So, okay, any comments on the appointment?
I just wanted to make sure I understood the sort of musical chairs of somebody being off on injury, somebody retiring, sort of this time, in 6 months after this retirement, we're going to have a total of 17 or 18 fire folks?
So you currently have 17.
Okay.
One is on injury, and then that 17th used to fill in when we had people out. So again, it's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation. Anytime somebody calls in, we go right to overtime when we only have 16. So we had hired that 17th, but somebody was injured. That person backfilled that, but now we have now somebody calls out, I have nobody to cover that and lower the overtime. So we actually think that this is going to be budget neutral in that the overtime that we save between now and when the person retires will be basically cover the salary. When the person retires, we won't be backfilling that position right
Got it.
away.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
so
think
we'll
that's
go
the piece I
back to
was missing.
17, and we've been submitting SAFER grants through the Department of Homeland Security to try to get additional staff. If we do land that grant next year, we would come to you and ask to add additional staff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other further comments? All right, all in favor of appointing Kevin Glinsky to the position of firefighter, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Next one is appointing Emma Malatesta to the position of police dispatcher. I'm looking for a motion and a second.
Motion?
Second.
That was Councilmember Rhodes and Councilmember Weatherby, I believe.
Yes.
It's hard to remember the last names. Okay, Chris, you're going to tell us about Emma?
Yes. So Emma is proposed to take the shift from 4 to 12, Monday through Friday, as the civilian dispatcher. The person who had that job actually became a police officer and is in the academy right now. So Emma has volunteer service with ambulance and fire. We interviewed 6 applicants with the police chief and the HR director. She was the top candidate right away, had a great attitude, very professional, and we would like to fill her in. You did hire somebody for this position back in August, but after 5 or 6 days, they decided they wanted to be a corrections officer instead. So we're filling that again.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, all in favor of appointing Emma Malatesta to the position of police dispatcher, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay. The next one is a resolution authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with Tie and Bond for the construction inspection services of the wastewater treatment plant in the solids handling improvement project. And a motion and a second.
Motion?
Second.
All right, so that's Molly
Jeff.
and
Jeff.
Jeff and Amber?
No, Jeff and Molly.
Jeff and Molly.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I confused things.
I was slow. Thank you. Please always correct me when I get it wrong, all right? And Chris, again, will you tell us a little bit about what the inspection service is for?
Sure. So as I mentioned, the city is undertaking the first upgrade of the dewatering system in many decades. We've been working with Tie and Bond, which is an engineering firm that has an office in Rhinebeck and also offices in Connecticut. They specialize in this type of technology. They designed the project that is out for bid and coming back on Thursday, and we would like to execute an agreement for construction, administration, and observation in the amount of up to $432,900. It's about a $5 million project, and it's a very specialized field that they're in. So they did a great job through design, and we would like to bring them on immediately so that they can help us review bid issues and get started as soon as we have a low bidder. We're not sure we're going to have the name of the low bidder for you at the next workshop, so we'll talk about what we got back from the bids at the next workshop, but we may say we think we have a low bidder, but we'll bring that to you at the voting meeting. And we'd like to get going on this because the belt press that we're replacing has had breakdowns periodically, and those breakdowns cost us tens of thousands of dollars each time they happen because we have to ship our waste out rather than bring waste in and process it. So we're looking for them to do the role that the Palumbo Group did on the firehouse, which is keep an eye and make sure we get everything that was in the plans, and it's well done.
And they did the design as well, the same
Yes.
company, is that right? And I assume that's fine within this industry, because you're not looking for them to judge the design. It's more that they're implementing the design to the standards.
Correct.
That it's there.
Yeah. And it's like on a building project, you'd want somebody maybe that didn't design it, who's really adept at construction. But there's not a lot of firms that do this. So it makes the most sense for them to oversee the construction. So when we do shop drawings, when they get requests for information from the contractor, they'll be the ones responding rather than the city engineer, who's a civil engineer, and they have, he can answer some of the questions, but, they know all of the electrical work that has to be done, the technology with the dewatering, and how the whole process works together.
And then one other question I had in the resolution, I saw it was also included that you and the lawyers could authorize an extension or amendments. Would that include any budget increases as well, or just an extension to the contract?
It's typically a time extension. I forget how we've done it in the past, and Nick would know this. I think if it goes up above 10%, we come back. But typically, they give us a kind of the worst case scenario of if it takes as long as we think it could take, this is what it would cost. Right. If there are, in the construction contract, we build in allowances so that we don't have to come back. So there's like an unallocated contingency that you can tap when inevitably things come up that you didn't anticipate. But with them, I'm pretty sure we'll stay under that, and if not, I'll advise the council.
Great, thank you.
Okay. On this one, I would just note, I was around on council when a study, probably more than 10 years ago, warned us that we were going to have to totally replace our wastewater treatment plant. And I think what that started was a view of let's start to update it as opposed to attempt that expensive a replacement. And much of this area and water and sewer has been funded by a combination of the higher rates that we charge for water outside of the city, because we do provide water outside to the prisons and bits of Fishkill, and then also to the higher haulage fees for the septic haulers that bring in septic to process. And that combination, of course, we bond for a lot of this, and then modest rate increases is how we've been paying for this. We still have a lot of bonding to do because, again, a lot of this is substantial capital investments. Chris, you have anything else? You ready to go?
No, I'm ready to
Okay.
go. Any other questions?
Comments? All right, all in favor of authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement regarding inspection services for the wastewater treatment plant, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. The last two items are both setting public hearings. One is setting a public hearing for the proposed budget. Can I get a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second.
Amber and Dan?
Yep.
Chris, would you add anything?
No, this will be held on November 4th, and we do plan to have another presentation like last week. At the workshop on Monday, you'll have fire, police, and recreation coming. So if you have questions, you want to send them in beforehand, or they can answer them when they come as well.
Okay. All in favor of setting the public hearing for the proposed 2025 budget to November 4th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? And the other one is also setting a public hearing. It's for proposed local law concerning the police department and mutual aid. Can I get a motion and a second? Christian will give the public a brief description.
Motion. Second.
Amber and Molly. Christian, what is this for? Mutual aid for police?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So the resolution would schedule the public hearing for November 4th. It's a very short, brief local law, and it would just amend Chapter 51 of the City Code in accordance to Section 209-M of the General Municipal Law, which essentially provides that a local law is required for the mayor to delegate the authority to request or issue mutual aid police requests to other jurisdictions and municipalities.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments on setting a public hearing for November 4th on this? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Last one, I need a motion and a second to approve the minutes of October 7th.
Motion?
Second.
Dan and Pam?
Yeah.
Okay. Any additions, changes, amendments, comments? If we had a public hearing, someone would speak on it, but we don't. Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes of October 7th, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. All right. What do I got to do? This is our second opportunity for public comment. If anyone in the physical audience hasn't spoken, you may do so now. I don't observe anyone who didn't speak in the first opportunity for public comments.
Did you want to say something? Yeah, he only spoke at the public hearing.
Oh, yes, by all means. Sorry. Mr. Soto, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Come on up again.
I'm sorry. Anyway, I'll just get to the point. I was driving in Beacon earlier this week, and I witnessed almost a car accident over by the dummy light on Main Street. And I'd just like to give my opinion. I think maybe 2 more stop signs might be appropriate there, because I realized that when the cars go up the hill and they stop, now they have to stop rather than yielding. They don't have the inertia to take off, so when the cars are driving down Beacon, they realize that they don't have to stop because they have the right of way. And I just noticed that could be a future, might be problematic in the future. I'd like you guys to consider that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ben, anyone in the virtual arena who hasn't made a comment want to make one?
None raised on Zoom.
I think I need to announce the next meeting, which I think is next Monday, and which is the 28th, and it will be a workshop at 7 p.m. And then it says we should have an executive session. Topic or not? I don't have one.
That is an error on my end.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry, that shouldn't have been on there.
Okay, so we've announced the next meeting, and I'll take a motion to adjourn at this stage.
Darn.
Motion, second.
We could make something up.
That was Amber, and the other laugh was whose?
Molly.
Mine.
Molly.
We were playing chicken
All right.
over here. with
All
who
in
was gonna
favor,
do it.
say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all, and good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
God, we survived the heat.
Recording. It was warm in here.